So it appears to be a pretty rough time for Kyle Kulinski from Secular Talk. Ever since the Jimmy Dore situation, basically people who were on the TYT side of the situation were very disappointed with Kyle because they felt like he didn't stand up for himself or for TYT and the others. And then because he slightly disagreed with Jimmy Dore in some areas, Jimmy Dore's fans went against him. So he basically lost a bunch of Jimmy Dore fans, a lot of them. And then he also lost the people on the other side because he both sides the situation. And so it effectively left him with pretty much nothing. And so what was pretty interesting here is he was filling in for Breaking Points, the show for Saagar Enjeti. You guys know him. He's a crypto fascist who's supposed to balance out the show, which is overarchingly supposed to have like a populist outlook, but he's supposed to give the right-wing populist side, which essentially is fascism, and then there's Krystal, who's supposed to give the progressive side. So Kyle fills in. It changes the entire dynamic of the show because Kyle is somebody who's supposed to be like a progressive populist. So it's like kind of a redundancy there. The whole point, the whole IP of The Hills Rising was to have this kind of overall anti-establishment outlook, but there's supposed to be right-wing populism, left-wing populism. So what ended up happening was there was some pretty significant backlash on this video that I saw. It says Bill Burr shreds De Santis in brutal takedown. So I believe Bill Burr had said something about Ron De Santis, governor of Florida, because he was banning mask mandates in all areas. So typically, if a local area, a county or city wants to take a measure to mandate masks indoors and things of that nature, because there's a serious COVID spike, they're allowed to do that. But because of Ron De Santis, there are areas in Florida that are getting hammered, especially more populated areas. But because of DeSantis's, I think it's his executive order, they're unable to do that. So again, it's a very fascist move to prevent self-governance from local governments to be able to protect themselves. It's supposed to be all about decentralization for conservatives, but obviously we know that they don't follow any of their supposed principles. So they cover this, and as you can see from the like to dislike ratio, it is 5.2k likes to 5.3k dislikes. So there are actually more dislikes on this video than there even are likes. And so people absolutely went off. And so this is one of the situations where he's not being called out by progressives. This is a situation where he steps into a different realm, and he's actually being called out by a bunch of right-wingers this time. So he's just getting heat from everywhere, basically. It's definitely a low point for Kyle in his career. So there are comments here. Saagar was probably like, sure, have Kyle on when I'm gone. People love to see me back afterwards. I don't think Saagar had anything to do with this temporary replacement this week. All roads lead to Krystal. This segment proves how valuable Saagar is to the show. His balance prevents such absurd takes from becoming so easy to put through. Kyle is too much in line with Krystal's beliefs, so they rarely disagree. So I wasn't even under the impression that they disagreed much on the show. Now, I know that he would give his takes, obviously, but I always felt like he kind of kept them mostly at bay for the most part, and then would kind of say some stuff that would maybe delineate from what Krystal would say, but to keep it in a way where it's more covert. I wasn't a big watcher of their show, obviously, but I wasn't aware, if this is even true, that Saagar was just super, brazen about how right-wing he was. Wow, we need Saagar back. Kyle is unwatchable. Saagar is needed to maintain the balance. These two combined is no different than TYT. So there's just so many people just absolutely shitting on Kyle and saying that they miss Saagar. So this one is different because this time it's right-wingers going after Kyle instead of the lefties that are going after Kyle consistently now, which is what's going on for him. So it appears that the people here are obviously, missing Saagar Enjeti. So I actually wasn't aware how much of a big fan base Saagar had on this show. So what this goes to show you is, honestly, it's probably half of the Breaking Point's fan base is right wing, which I wasn't aware of. I actually wasn't aware of just how deep the right wing support base for Breaking Points was. So it really means that Saagar has like half of the fan base. So even on the other videos that they did, like where they would talk about something, it wasn't as big of a backlash in terms of the likes and dislikes on this video, but some of the other ones would have more dislikes than it normally would had it have been Saagar and Krystal talking about something. So obviously, when they're talking about Cuomo or somebody like that, the right-wingers are going to be like this, really happy, so they'll thumbs up. But once you start going after Ron De Santis, who a lot of right-wingers want to be the next presidential candidate, which is pretty hilarious and insane, they're very pissed off, obviously, here. So, I miss Saagar bringing some balance to the show. Now it just sounds like a liberal talk show. Bring back Saagar. This is a complete echo chamber. Kyle's commentary and his general approach to this type of setting reminds me way too much of TYT. We need carefully thought out, articulated comments, not shoot by the hip fervent opinions. So Kyle also doesn't really fit this show because the truth about what The Hills Rising is, as well as now Breaking Points, it's a very scripted show. I mean, pretty much everything that they say is already written and scripted. So Kyle was a terrible person to pick up for Breaking Points. I'm not sure why they brought him on. I mean, obviously you would think it would just mesh just based on that, but he doesn't fit at all. He was a horrible pick because he is very off the cuff. That's just the way that his show runs. His stuff is not scripted other than reading some information from articles. So the meshing simply wasn't going to work, and Kyle just was not a good fit for the show in general. A lot of it was kind of seeing his eyelids while he's reading something pretty much the whole time. I don't know why he wasn't using a prompter instead of reading a paper. So that kind of made it a bad fit as well. So I think genuinely it was just a bad fit from the jump, because I just think that he just doesn't fit in that kind of show. He's too off of the cuff. So I didn't expect this to actually happen. So, I didn't expect this much of Backlash to happen, but you can see, obviously, there's more dislikes than likes on here. I'm guessing it'll still continue to grow. I don't know if they lost any subscribers from this. I haven't checked the social blade on it, to be quite honest with you. But nonetheless, interesting to see. We can find out that, wow, there's half the fan base of Breaking Points is Saagar fans and right-wingers and quote-unquote right-wing populists. But genuinely, Kyle simply is not a good fit for this show. And I don't know why on earth they would think he would be. No, it's not going to work. You can't have somebody who mostly does his stuff off the cuff to then be on a show where it's almost entirely scripted. It was never going to work.